Good day everyone, my name is Christopher Ng Chung. I'm the Early Retirement Masterclass Trainer under Dr. Wealth, and today we'll be talking about conventional retirement, alright? What it's like to plan for retirement at the age of 65, okay? And for today's presentation, we will first look into what the median household income is for Singapore. Then we will have a look at what a basic standard of living would entail in this country. And then after that, we will do a little bit of checking to see what it's like to employ your CPF Life Payouts at the age of 65 to actually maintain your standard of living. And then we will have a quick discussion on how investing can actually help you in your retirement journey. And finally, we will talk about if you want to actually retire in style, what kind of investment technique or strategy you can employ to meet this possible retirement shortfall. Alright, so let's get down to our first slide. Alright, and first we will talk about a household income. Alright, and how much does the median family earn in Singapore? And actually, on 2020, because of the pandemic, the median income has actually gone down. In the year 2019, the median income was 9,425, and last year, 2020, it has come down to $9,189. Okay. Now, if you deduct 20% for your CPF contribution, this would mean that your take-home pay for the entire Singapore household would be $7,351, and that is a very, very important data point because this is generally we expect how much a family has to spend, all right, every month. Okay, now that we're done discussing our household income, we need to think about how much we need to spend every month. And the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy has very recently published some results where they've conducted a focus group study on how much a family needs in order to meet a certain basic standard of living. In other words, how much you need to maintain a certain amount of dignity in Singapore society today. And if you look at the kind of numbers that they've published in their document, a family of 4 consisting of a married couple as well as 2 children, 1 an infant and 1 a teenager, such a family would require $6,426 a month. And that is a second data point that we think is particularly important because this is basically how much a family needs to spend, right, in order to feel, I would say, satisfied and happy with their kind of lives that they have. Okay. So naturally, if we take one number and we minus off the other number, we would be able to figure out how much savings a family can generate every month, right? So if your take-home pay is $7,351 and you need $6,426 every month, right, to live a dignified kind of existence, then 7,351 minus 6,426 or $925 every month can be set aside for your savings. Okay. Now, this is a reasonable amount compared to how much you draw because this is 12.5% of your take-home pay. Okay. Now, we can find that these numbers actually gel with what we find in personal finance books written in the US, where the recommended amount of savings is always around 10% every month. Is a family able to plan for retirement? Right? And so that would require a different set of mental exercises for us to think about how conventional retirement planning works. So what we do right now is that we first begin with the idea that when a couple grows old at the age of 65, their children eventually grow up, and they start to set up families of their own. So when this couple stays together through their twilight years, right? How much they need is an interesting question, and based on what the academics have done, they figured out that such a couple at age 65 would need $2,419 every month. So the question that we want to ask ourselves is, can our current pension system provide this $2,419 every month for the couple to be able to have a happy kind of existence in their twilight years? And in order to do this mental exercise, we have to go to the CPF website and we look under their CPF Life Estimator program, all right, and let's see how much money a 55-year-old male with $181,000 in the CPF RA would be able to generate. $181,000 being the full retirement sum, which is the recommended amount from government bodies, right? How much you need to prepare for your CPF life. And based on this simulation, a 55-year-old male today, if he has $181,000 in his CPF RA account, under the CPF Life Escalating Plan, he's able to generate $1,170 every month. All right, this is a very, very important number. This is how much you can get for life. All right, but the good news is, because it is the escalating plan, what it does is that the government will give you and increase this number based on the inflation rate every year. So at age 65, you get $1,170. At age 85, it will become $1,730. And if you can live up to the age of 95 years old, it becomes $2,120. All right, so this is a very, very good plan for people that are interested in fighting inflation. But therein lies the problem once you have a certain idea of what these numbers are. Now, if you consider two people drawing money from CPF Life, the number is not going to be significantly different from this simulation here. So $1,170 multiplied by 2, that's approximately $2,340, right? And if you compare $2,340 right now, you note that it is actually less than the amount that is given by the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. So what we're trying to say now is that the CPF Life estimate at age 65 is going to be slightly equal or slightly less than how much the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy recommends at 2,419. Okay, and we've not even addressed the idea of inflation yet. So we can conclude, right, that actually based on the current spending patterns that we're seeing, based on the findings of the focus group, CPF Life is inadequate. All right, it is inadequate to provide a couple at 65 years or older to have a basic standard of living. Okay, and that's not such a bad thing, right? I don't want to be too alarmist when I say this, because if you look at the median kind of family, we've already concluded earlier on that we can save $925 every month, which means that we can go beyond CPF Life, right? And what we can do is that with this $925 every month, if we harness it properly by picking the right kind of investments, if we compound it at 5% every year, this amount of money can become $737,000 at age 65. And if you consider a 4% safe rate of withdrawal, we could be looking at close to an extra $2,400 every month on top of your CPF Life, right? And so this is basically what I'm trying to conclude here. CPF Life is great, but on top of it, you should learn to be able to invest some money on your own as a couple so that you can have a comfortable retirement at the age of 65. All right. Of course, one question still needs to be answered, right? In this simulation, we have compounded the investments at 5%. So the question is, what kind of investments can actually give you a 5% return over the next decade or so? All right. So how do we get a 5%? And a very simple way of getting 5% that I cover in my previews is to simply go to the Straits Times Index, look at their components, and figure out which are the companies that give you the highest dividend. So in this example here, you can find this table on the Business Times. All right, in the weekend copy of the Business Times, there's a table on the Straits Times Index component stocks. Now simply cherry pick 15 of the stocks with the highest dividend yield, right? That gives you the highest dividend. And you buy all of them in equal shares, right? So if you have $150,000, you spend $10,000 on each share, and you're able to then build a portfolio, $150,000 in size, that generates a certain amount of dividend every year. All right. Now, what would happen if you had done this for the past 10 years? So we perform a backtest, right? In order to perform a backtest, we start using a computer to simulate these investments beginning on the 30th of June 2011, and we run a rebalancing exercise every year for the next 10 years, right? If you do that, what would have happened is that your portfolio over the past 10 years would have generated annualized return of 9% every year, which is clearly higher than the 5%. and with a downside risk of 12.1%, which means that actually if you compare that with the rest of the market, the risk is relatively low. Okay, so this is a very safe way of actually generating the 5%. All right, so is the 5% return strategy possible for most Singaporean families? And I would answer yes, definitely. All right, that is something that has been done in the past. It is likely to be able to be done in the future. So in conclusion, right, Singapore incomes have dipped recently after COVID-19, and this has affected the ability of households to save to maintain a basic standard of living, right? Even with the full retirement sum under CPF, a 55-year-old would barely be able to draw a monthly stipend that can cover basic expenses starting at age 65, right? And however, this retirement shortfall can be offset if you can take your family savings at around 12.5% every month, and you invest it in a portfolio that gives you 5% every year, right? Now, if you do that, all right, you should be able to have a very comfortable retirement, right? And for the people who wonder what this strategy actually looks like, I've provided a sample strategy. Picking high dividend counters in the local Straits Times Index can provide up to 9% every year from a 10-year backtest, right? So, summarizing our discussion on a conventional retirement at age 65, it requires the ability to actually save enough to cover the full retirement sum of $181,000 in your CPF retirement account after a lifetime of hard work for a married couple. On top of it, you should also save approximately 10% of your family take-home pay, right, compounding at about 5%. All right, and this concludes our section on conventional retirement planning. And if you're interested in our special brand of early retirement, I conduct the Early Retirement Masterclass for Dr. Wealth, and I hope to see you in my preview. Thank you very much.